So I attended two different campuses of CSVP Alliant. I started at Alliant in San Diego, and I completed 2 years there. And then I transferred to the Alliant campus in Los Angeles, and I completed 3 years there and graduated from there. And I took the MCCP emphasis track, which was the Multicultural Community Clinical Psychology track. And I'm very proud to have done that emphasis area. And I graduated in 2006, and I was actually, fun fact, I was the student commencement speaker at graduation, which was super, super exciting. And I was actually just very involved on campus. So I co-chaired the Asian Pacific Student Network, which I actually reactivated in 2004. It had gone inactive for a little while. And I just felt really passionate about bringing the Asian Pacific Islander students together. And so I co-chaired that. And then the following year, I was the MCCP rep of the student government in 2005. And so, I was just very, very involved on campus. And really, truly, I'm so glad I chose Alliant because of just really the high emphasis in multicultural issues and social justice that was, really spelled out in the mission statement and also the practitioner scholar model. And so that was really something that I felt aligned with me in wanting to be a clinician first. Yeah, so this is a little bit of a longer answer. So right now I wear multiple hats. So I am in private practice and I, opened my own private practice called Living in Color Therapy. I also am the program coordinator of the LGBTQIA plus Affirmative Therapy Center at Airport Marina Counseling Service. And my third hat is I am a professor at USC's Marriage and Family Therapy program. So those are three sort of part-time, roles that I have. And then in terms of my volunteering and advocacy, which is always a very big part of what I do, is I'm the chair of Division 7 of the California Psychological Association. And Division 7 is the Diversity and Social Justice Division. And I'm also the co-founder and longtime board member of the Los Angeles Bi Plus Task Force. And, that's also a really big part of what I do as a queer and bisexual individual and an Asian American woman. Just these are just really important parts of, my identity, but also something that I feel passionate about supporting others. So, how did I get here? I, sort of takes me back to kind of the earlier years of who I am. I myself am an immigrant to the US. I'm Vietnamese and Chinese, and we fled from Vietnam back in the late 70s, early 80s. And so, my family and I, we really started with nothing and made a life for ourselves here in the US. And, growing up in an immigrant family, I really didn't have tons of support in pursuing higher ed. I was the first generation in my family to get a 4-year college degree, let alone a doctoral degree. But also, figuring out who I was as a bisexual, Asian American woman, I just really had no role models back in the day. And so it was quite a difficult journey for me to figure out who I was. But it was actually through a therapist and a mentor. that I really discovered who I was, learned to accept who I was, and embrace who I was. And then that eventually led to a lot of leadership in the LGBTQ community. So, sort of through that, I was also really interested in psychology and social issues. And so I decided to, major in psychology in my undergrad. I minored in women's studies as well. So that kind of brought in both sort of the internal process, but also the social aspect of things. And then I decided on Alliant to pursue my clinical psychology PhD. So through that, it was such a wonderful home for me to really get the academic training. And I chose all the trainings, all the field placements that I felt really fit within these parts of me, but also just the people and the populations I wanted to serve. I really wanted to serve the underserved because that's, my roots. And I wanted to work with young people. So those were, two different areas that I merged together. And so I was able to work at community mental health clinics. I felt like that was a really great setting for me. And then also university counseling centers, right? So that I could work with adolescents, young adults. And so I just really chose all the different jobs and internships that I felt matched that. I worked at a community mental health clinic for Asian American immigrants. I learned how to work with interpreters so that I could help non-English speaking, immigrants. I worked at Children's Hospital Los Angeles. And so through that, I was able to serve a lot of unhoused youth, many of whom were queer or transgender because they had been cast out of their homes. Um, Also, I've been able to work at clinics for Native American foster youth and their families, which is just a really, really great experience. And then a few different, UCCs, where I got to really focus on first gen college students, just like me, just helping them out, navigating all those questions around college and getting support and finding mentors. And I was able to run just really a lot of groups. I also love to run groups. And so I ran LGBTQ groups, API women's groups, women's body image groups. And so those were just really wonderful experiences that I've taken with me. And then, more recently, I decided that I wanted to just sort of craft together my own schedule. And so that's when I decided to quit my full-time job and open up my private practice. And that's been wonderful because I've been able to really specialize in the populations that, I feel I work best with. And, clients, a lot of them are queer or trans Asian American clients that are really in particular looking for a therapist like me. And so that's been really great to be able to offer this, a little bit more of a niche service. But because, I think people really want to feel understood and supported. Yeah, I feel like there was just so many great lessons that I learned at Alliant. But I would have to say that me making the decision to transfer from the San Diego campus to the LA campus was just a really defining experience for me. And what I mean by that is that, I had chosen to go to the San Diego campus because they were offering some emphasis areas that I was interested in at the time. And so this was, before 2001, which was actually the year that CSPP became Alliant International University. Yes, so it's a little sort of piece of the history of Alliant there. Now, the San Diego campus was offering cross-cultural psychology and gender and sexuality. And there were some professors that I really wanted to work with because of those different emphasis areas that were being offered. Now, for whatever reason, the year that I actually started, those emphasis areas got dismantled. I don't know if it was because maybe different professors had left or retired, or if there was just reorganization that was happening there at that campus. San Diego was also ground zero, where both CSPP and USIU, both of those campuses were there, right? So I think even physically, a lot was just happening in the shuffle of things in that, marriage that became Alliant. um, so because of these emphasis areas being dismantled, I actually felt a bit directionless when I started my grad program. And I wasn't really able to find the advisors that I had been hoping to work with, you know. And there were just other things happening there as well that I just really didn't feel like the San Diego campus was a fit for me. And so it was a very stressful time. Obviously, I'm starting my PhD program, a lot is at stake. I'm studying a lot, all of that. But I just really had to find a place where I felt comfortable, right? Where I felt really supported, where I felt like I could be advised in the way that I needed to be advised. And so I took that very big risk of transferring midway in my graduate program. And at that time, I think Alliant was starting to create a process to make it easier for students to transfer from one campus to another. So, luckily I was kind of, in that process. So I did. I transferred and, I saw that the LA campus offered the MCCP emphasis area, which really also fit me. And I found an incredible advisor and I met just wonderful, wonderful faculty. I took classes that just really were so exciting for me. I just was so happy to be in classes. And I was able to, do my dissertation on bisexual identity. And, I really learned so much. And so it just made me feel like that was really the best decision for me was I went to a place where I felt like I could really grow. And I've now graduated, with the MCCP emphasis area. And I feel like I'm living it. I'm living it as a community psychologist who really works with communities, who works with those that are underprivileged and marginalized. And, just a matter of fact, last year, I was invited to be the keynote speaker at the MCCP conference at Alliant Los Angeles. And so that was such a powerful full circle moment that really confirmed I chose the right decision and I found the best home for me because here I am keynoting this conference and speaking to other young students, in the MCCP emphasis and telling them this is a wonderful, wonderful area to really focus your studies and, look at what I've done with that. So, that was really what made it just all worthwhile. Yeah, so I previously mentioned I found a wonderful advisor, and so I really want to give her credit here. Although, I mean, there were so many amazing faculty at Alliant, but I really have to say Dr. Judy Holloway, who taught in the MCCP track in the PhD program. She taught a lot of the feminist theories, the LGBTQ affirmative therapy class, and also eco psychology class. And so she just, had so many wonderful interests and research areas that you really aligned with me. But really, what I think the first impression, matters so much. And what happened was after I decided to transfer, and here I am. I'm at Alliant Los Angeles, and I'm sitting down with Judy Holloway to see if she could be my advisor. And she's an out lesbian professor at the LA campus. And she knew that I, identified as bisexual, and, it was something that I'm very passionate about. And so in that very first meeting, she talks about, the LGBTQ community, and that she herself identifies as lesbian, but that she's aware that there has been biphobia even amongst the lesbian and gay community. And I was just so touched by her being able to say that. I didn't initiate that conversation, she did. And it just really showed that, this person who, has gone through stuff, right? Like as an out gay professor, but that she's recognizing her own humility, in maybe how her community has, inadvertently hurt other communities within the queer umbrella. And so it just was really impressed. I was so impressed by her knowledge, her ability to just go for that conversation, a difficult dialogue, just right there. It just made me feel so safe, to be able to be a mentee under her. And so I was like, yep, Dr. Judy Holloway is my advisor. Of course, I learned so much, else, I took many of her classes, and we had many more conversations around bisexuality and lesbian identity, because she also became my dissertation chair. So, I think that she learned a lot, but I also learned a lot through doing my dissertation. And she has continued, even after my graduation, we've kept in touch, and she's continued to support my work. We later got my dissertation published in the Journal of Bisexuality. So she was super, super supportive of me really getting my research out there for public consumption. And we still meet up for coffee every now and then. She refers her clients to me. And so, she's just been such an amazing, amazing supporter and cheerleader of my work. And so I just, again, owe so much to Alliant and to just the wonderfully talented faculty that Alliant has.
Mm.
Yeah, so I mean, this really touches back on finding mentors. So you were actually right on the nose there, Reggie, because I just really believe in the power of mentorship. And I think sometimes we don't realize, like, hey, it's good to have a mentor, right? But like, how important is it? Like, it's actually really, really important, because I've been able to get so much great advisement from people that have, maybe they're a little older, a little wiser, and they are doing something that, I want to do or I hope to do. And so really finding the right professors, supervisors, and mentors are really going to help shape your journey. Um, and so I really, really recommend that, people meet for office hours. Don't just go to class and go do your homework and just, have that. Like, talk to your professors, get to know them, find the ones that are doing what you would like to do or you're interested in doing, and sit down with them. Most of them are really happy to meet with you and to share, just a little bit of their experience, their, what challenges they've experienced, but maybe what good things, they've really learned from all of that. And so I feel like it's really helped give me like a template for like what are the next steps? Like how could it look? Because sometimes I think it's hard to imagine even when, maybe your parents didn't do this a similar career path, or your parents just, don't understand exactly what you're doing in becoming a psychologist. Um, and so that's where we really want to look for other people who can help and guide and give that really wonderful lived experience and advisement. And so, you know, even after you graduate, I think continue to meet up with people that really supported you, who believed in you, and just continue doing that. I mean, I find myself, even though I'm, mid-career and, I've done all these things, but I'm still seeking advisement. With each new sort of direction I take, I look for people who are maybe doing something similar, could be sharing some demographics that are similar to mine, or it could be just pursuing something similar to mine. So it doesn't have to be like the perfect match. So that's one piece of advice that I have. The the other is don't put too much pressure to know it all right away. I think sometimes young folks are like, oh, I should already be doing exactly what I want to be doing. And sometimes your path might be a little windy. Mine was, right? I had to transfer campuses midway through my graduate studies. And then I also was doing both community mental health and I was doing university counseling centers. So I wasn't like super like focused on one setting. Um, and then now I'm in private practice, which I actually never really thought I would do. So, that part, I was just very open to experiences. I was open to seeing what was out there. And, I said yes to a lot of things. Either, people would approach me or maybe a mentor would suggest something. And then I'd be like, okay, maybe I'll try that out. So I just was very, very open, and so then it allowed me to just obtain so much experience. And so, teaching, doing workshops, doing some peer supervision, and then later, clinically supervising, different things allowed me then to figure out, oh, do I like this? Is this for me? Do I want to do more of it? And so, through that and through just my passion for working with the LGBTQ community, I've been able now to try so many hats and figure out what it is that really fits me. So, I say, be patient and be open and try to say yes to a lot of experiences early on.